Welcome to the Squadcast. My name is Tyrannosaurus Flex, joined today by the one and only Iceman1H. Ice, how you doing?
Hello. I'm good. Real good. Yourself?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Excited to finally get around to recording this podcast that I've been dreaming about for, 11 years or something like that.
That's a lot of years.
It's a lot of years, man.
You can't even math that many years, but that sounds like a lot.
I can't math in general, so it works. Just out. Just a little bit of background about myself. Again, my name's Tyrannosaurus Flex. I stream on Twitch, mostly FPS games. Lately, it has been nothing but Escape from Tarkov. And I grew up playing nothing but FPS games, so it kind of makes sense that that's all I'm into. Grew up on Counter-Strike 1.6, got into Source, dabbled around in the competitive scene for quite a long time in Source, then started playing League of Legends and stuff like that in college, and kind of fell out of video games before picking them back up about 5-6 years ago, and starting to stream in the H1Z1 days, if anyone remembers those days. But what about you, Ice? What's some of your background?
Yeah, so I'm Iceman_1H on socials and Twitch. Stream a bunch of Destiny. Obviously recently got into a lot of Tarkov, Final Fantasy. Basically, if it's an RPS or an RPG game, I typically play, especially if there's a challenge involved, like Soulsborne games and that kind of stuff. What got me into games way back, GoldenEye is one of the greatest games ever made. Oof, don't at me. But yeah, so started GoldenEye, but then Counter-Strike quickly caught my attention back in this beta, and then started into that big time. Got into competitive scenes, various professional levels through the years. 1.6 was kind of like the peak of what I did there. And then continued into Source, died off for a little bit, came back and Go. And then after Go, basically just said I'm done, and then started more heavily into Destiny and other games. So that's kind of the gist of how I got into FPS games, and that's bread and butter of what I love in gaming is FPS and or RPG. If they're both combined, then whew, hell yes.
Yes, your love for RPG games is astonishing to me. I've always just loved FPS games, and I can't not focus on FPS games. And it's so funny when we talk about Destiny and stuff, and you're big into the PvE scene, and I'm just like, what's a PvE?
Wait, lore? Huh?
Lore?
That exists?
What is that?
Give me a face to click on, please.
Exactly. All about the competitiveness. Anyway, today's episode for the Squadcast is going to be more about Escape from Tarkov and kind of what made us fall in love with it, or at least I fell in love with it. I think Ice is getting there.
I'm there.
He's there. But Escape from Tarkov was... Goodness, I picked it up, I think, at the end of November, 2019, and we were looking, or I was kind of looking for a new game because I was playing Destiny at the time. That's actually where Ice and I met, in Destiny. I headshot him, but I was too low a light level to actually do enough damage to kill him. Feels really
His
sad.
Iron Banner, if
Iron
anyone
Banana,
cares
dude.
to know. Yeah.
It was a feels bad, but hey, a friendship moment occurred. So I picked up Escape from Tarkov. Yeah, I think it was literally Black Friday, and we started playing it because I was falling out of Destiny. I was kind of bored with video games. I had played Fortnite and stuff, but nothing was really catching my eye. And picking up Escape from Tarkov was one of the best things I think I've ever done because I absolutely love this game and the intensity and the challenge. And when we picked up the game, I think my buddy Andy and I, we bought it together and we started playing it together, and we had absolutely no idea what was going on. And it was one of the most terrifying. Tarkov is definitely, it falls under the horror genre. It's one of the scariest games.
I 100% agree with that.
I think I've ever played. Jump scares and your nerves for losing all your gear. For those of you that might not know, I doubt that you don't, but for those of you that might be listening to this and that don't know much about Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov is kind of like a looter shooter where you go into something called a raid as either a PMC or a scav. We'll get into all the fun details later, but everything you take into a raid with your main character, you have the chance of losing or getting out with, and that's what makes Tarkov so brutal. You either you get out with everything or you just literally lose everything. Of course, there's finer details. But
What's funny is my stream, I hate scary games, and people that watch me play Tarkov
Same.
are like, you honestly hate scary games? Like, this is the most terrifying game I've ever watched in my life. And those are people that like have played Visage, have played Outlast, have played all these games where you're literally running for your life and you can't do anything about it. And it's just like, I don't know. I think because I can actually shoot back is what makes it okay for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's no amnesia. You're not just running away, hiding in a corner. Although, some play styles are like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a horror game. I mean, you scare yourself. The amount of times I've literally physically jumped at a shadow in the game, I can't even count.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's what's so addicting about it is you get the adrenaline rush as if you're sitting there in OGL open, just like Iceman 30 some years ago or something like that, I think.
Come on now.
Yeah, the intensity of the game is just what I think made me fall in love with it.
A lot of people compare it to Rust as well, in a way, just from the survival side of things.
Sure.
And just kind of the overall feel and look of the game. Obviously, it looks way better. It's a very gorgeous looking game if you really like look at landscapes and stuff like that. But the look of the game it looks like Rust, like an updated Rust in a way.
I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. It is a gorgeous game until you take some painkillers and it looks like you're looking at
and then everything's all grained out. Yeah.
But it's gorgeous. Actually, yeah, one of our recent raids, we were running so many nighttime raids for our quests, and you just look up at the sky sometimes and you're like, wow. Yeah, that's actually like really well done.
When sunset's hitting you and you're just like, I might take a picture of this and put it as my background on my computer. Like, this is kind of nice.
And then some scav screams at you and then the moment's ruined and you're running along.
Right? Yeah.
So kind of transitioning from the love of the game to our experience so far, at least my experience so far. 12.6, this wipe. I'm pretty sure that's what they called this wipe when it first came out. We're at 12.6.8 right now.
Yeah.
We are currently, I think ice is, you only need your fire steel for your guy or your Kappa container, and then we're both going to work on the guide quest.
Yeah, I need how many more PMCs at night? I think 21 more PMCs kills at night, and then the guide quest, and then a fire steel, and I think that's it.
So last wipe, neither one of us really got into questing or pursued the questing. We were more
I didn't make it halfway.
I made it a little farther than the halfway. I think I quested up to level 40, but I made it to about a little over halfway through the questing, not really knowing what was going on. So with this wipe, I think we both went into the wipe with the attitude or the mentality that we're going to get that Kappa. The Kappa container is, of course, the holy gauntlet of the game. As soon as you complete every single quest in the game that's available to you, barring a couple minor quests that don't matter, you get the Kappa container. That's just your prison wallet that has more space. That's essentially what it boils down to.
Those 3 extra slots, like, you would think something like that would just kind of be like, oh, it's whatever. But those slots, you can put so many more things into. You can put a full serve kit in. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, if you're newer to Tarkov, there's a lot of healing items that are very essential to how you get through and you survive situations.
Yep.
And it's hard. Your container is just one of those things where you can put them in. If you die, you don't lose it. You don't have to worry about it. And having those 3 extra slots of things that you don't have to worry about is actually huge. And that's 3 on top of the Edge of Darkness people. If you're not an Edge of Darkness purchaser, then you probably have a smaller container, so it's way more slots.
You get the 2x2, and then you can quest up. And that's another thing about Tarkov that I really enjoy is, so there's different, as I just mentioned, there's different levels of or tiers of the game, and as you purchase different tiers of the game, you get a larger Gamma container, or Kappa container, or not Kappa container, the
Beta.
Alpha. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you can get that by just spending more actual money on the game, or you can quest through certain quest lines in the game and get larger secure containers. That was the word I was looking for.
There you go. True,
you can work through all of that yourself and not have to spend all the money on the game. It was an easy purchase for me once I got into a game. I spent like 2 weeks on the base edition, and then after like 2 weeks, the game was still on sale. I was like, I love this game. I'm just gonna go for the gold and just buy the Edge of Darkness edition, which is the 3x3 secure container.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. The extra 3 slots, that, and to me, it's like, as goofy as it sounds, it's like a status symbol. You go into someone's stream, they have the Kappa, you know that guy knows what's going on, or girl.
They've put a lot of time into the game. They've invested. They've learned how to get through the quests, because some of the quests can be very punishing mentally and physically.
I don't know what you're talking about. I love shotguns.
Yeah. So seeing someone that has a kappa, you know that they have a very good handle on the game, or they cheat. One of the two. Hopefully
they cheat. Yeah, well, out here keeping it real, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Hopefully they just have that nice understanding. Every streamer that I've seen that has a kappa, good people that have been playing the game and know what they're doing.
Exactly. Speaking of streamers, that you remind me of coming from the Destiny directory, and I was brand new to Destiny when I started streaming it. Never played it before, didn't play D1, got into D2, and I had never really met a community that was that welcoming, and like people would just rerun content that they really like to run just to help you out, just because they want to help you out. And I was like, wow, this is really great, especially coming from, like, not to talk down to it, but like the old Counter-Strike days or something like that, where it was kind of every man for himself. You know, your team would look out for each other, but it was definitely not the same way. Right. And then transitioning into the Tarkov directory, a very, very good majority of all of the people that I've met in the Tarkov directory have been just absolutely awesome people, willing to help people out, willing to help their communities out, do giveaways and all that stuff. It's a very great directory to be in, a really awesome community to be a part of.
Yeah, it's wild. And you look in, especially bigger streamers' chats, you can kind of gauge a community in general by a bigger streamer's chat, whether it's kind of just spammy, toxic, like that kind of stuff, or it's like welcoming and good. And Tarkov's directory seems to be extremely solid overall.
I'd agree.
And then you go down into the lower views and channels and smaller streamers, and it's even better. Like there's a lot of people that are suggesting things, saying like, hey, you could do this. If it's a person that's trying to learn a quest or something like that, you could go here, do this, whatever it is. But you love to see how many people are friendly to each other in a directory versus just like waiting for someone to die and then just make fun of them. Because I've seen that in a lot of other games.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. It's like you said, people that are there to help out or to give you information, or, there to get information, even in smaller streams, and, chat helping out as well as the smaller streamers, who are down there in the views, but you still go in there and they just have awesome little communities that, like, they're, like you said, they're not sitting there. It's not a bunch of trolls sitting there waiting for you to die to be like, why'd you do that, idiot?
Right.
So that's a great feeling.
And there's a lot of the people, this bigger streamers will host the smaller streamers and help them and do a lot of things for people they know have been dedicated to the directory, to the game, and want to help them grow. I've seen that a lot of examples over the last 8 months or 9 months that I've been playing the game, and I've been following different streamers. It's a cool group of people overall. It's
super cool, and it's kind of like, it's such a blossoming community because Tarkov really saw its peak. I think it's been out since 2017. I might have to fact check that, but it's been out for a long time. And one of their more recent patches, I think it was 12.4, is when we got into it, was called the best, update that ever happened to Tarkov. And then they came out with the revolutionary idea of Twitch drops. And Pestily was sitting at 150,000 people watching him on Twitch, and decided to dedicate an entire year's worth of his donations to help Starlight Children's Foundation in Australia. Yeah. I mean, that's just like amazing. That's the directory right there. I mean, it's just, what else do you say? It's just amazing. And like you said, they host smaller streamers. It seems like it's really nice to see a community on Twitch, especially that was already established, still be really humble and really grateful for all of the growth that they're seeing, and they help each other out, and then also help out, newer people or the smaller guys in the directory as well. But yeah, I'm gushing over the community, but I absolutely love it here.
Fact checking you right now, 27th July 2017 was the closed beta announcement. Ooh. So you nailed it.
Not bad. I pulled that one out of somewhere. So yeah, Tarkov's a great game. If you guys haven't picked it up, I would absolutely recommend it personally. I think it's especially if you're looking to start a new game where it's just a time sink, because the skill gap in Tarkov is knowledge. That's it.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Aim in an FPS game, you would figure that aim is a big differentiator in player skill. In Tarkov, it's ironically not at all. Aim doesn't really matter.
Nope.
Of course, you could like hit a sick flick shot. Like you could have a headshot consistency, because headshotting in Tarkov is huge. If you can headshot on a consistent basis, you're typically going to win your fights because it's typically a one-shot kill.
Yep.
Not always, but typically. But in other FPS games, aim is essential. I think Counter-Strike is probably the closest comparison where in Counter-Strike, aim's essential, but it's way more about how you play a situation and how you read a different player and how you think the situation is going to unfold, and then how you tactically maneuver yourself into a position that counters what you think that player is going to do. Or if you're like, it's like basically like a mental game of chess.
Yep.
With guns.
Guns.
And so that's what I think is so cool about this game is if you're newer to FPS, you can still get into it and be successful if you can think strategically and tactically. And if you love that and you came from that, then you're just going to excel in this game. If you're able to read people and then react to situations as they're happening. It's a very unique game when it comes to like an FPS style game.
Yeah, like you said, it's funny because, not to toot my own horn, but I've always relied on my aim for new video games. Like when a new first-person shooter comes out, I was always, pretty confident because I could go in and I could just click on people. And I came into Tarkov, I'm like, I can click on people. And I remember running my first scav terrified because I didn't know where anything was. And I saw somebody and I tried to click on him, and like the aiming's a little bit different and I didn't hit the headshot. So the scav was mad at me, and then he turned around and just put me down. And I was like, okay, well, that wasn't a very good start to things.
Yep.
But the knowledge skill gap is incredibly fun, and also comes all the way back to the hardcoreness of Tarkov, because there is no hand-holding in this game at all. There's no, you launch the game, you get the tutorial, there's nothing. You get thrown right into Tarkov. You know nothing about it. And
I think for newer players to the game, you would hear "Welcome to Tarkov" is what people say.
Welcome to
newer
Tarkov.
Players.
Yep.
So if something stupid happens, you're just like, how did I die there? That's so dumb. You're just like, well, welcome to
Tarkov. Yep, exactly.
I think you said that to me probably 800 times in my first month of playing.
A good 800 or 900 times, absolutely.
What would you say on average for a newer player would be like the learning curve before you start feeling comfortable?
I would say, I think I made a video a couple months ago, and things change. Tarkov's a pretty fluid game. I still stand by my video. Start on scav runs, and scav run is your randomly generated run where you spawn in with random loot and you can get it out. But the scavs, the AI on the map, are by default not mad at you. And start on customs. Once you start understanding, and if you have a second screen or a cell phone or a tablet or something available to you, pull up the map of Tarkov, or the map of customs, and start understanding just the direction of the map. Because I specifically remember playing like one of my first raids on customs, hiding in elbow, and I was looking out towards like where old gas is. And I was terrified because I thought maybe someone was over that wall and they were about to shoot me or something. And it's the edge of the map. And that I ended up getting shot in the back because I was looking at a corner of the map. But I think my number one tip would be start on scav runs and start learning customs and looking at maps to learn how the actual physical layout of the map is. There's so much information on all those maps. There's so much good information. Don't start looking at all the loot spawns and all that stuff and start freaking out about it. That'll come in time.
Yeah.
Gosh,
what do you think is like the time frame of the learning curve before you start? No, that was all good stuff, but what's the time frame you think?
How long did I don't know. I'm still not comfortable all the time.
I would say for me personally, and it's going to vary per person and like how much time you invest into learning maps. Like I don't like doing that kind of stuff. I learn by doing typically. I don't learn by just like looking at stuff majority of the time. For me, it took about 2 months before I was finally like, okay, I have the majority of the maps. Ironically, I didn't really start with customs because I played with a lot of people that knew what they were doing already. So I kind of like got springboarded into like reserve, interchange, like the really difficult maps.
Yep.
But I would say about 2 months before I was finally at the point where I could run things solo and feel comfortable doing it.
I would say about the same for me. I think it took me to about level 15. And so that ties into like each person's going to play it differently. Mm-hmm. By the time my PMC hit level 15, I was making realizations and feeling so much more confident in my gameplay. I was still getting dropped pretty much every raid. I had a terrible survival percentage, but like I actually knew what was going on. I wasn't just dying and like super confused and scared.
Yep. I think
so,
about a month for me to feel at the point where I wasn't a detriment to other players I was playing with.
Yeah.
But 2 months to like really run solo is what I would say.
I would agree with that. 1 to 2 months. Yeah. It depends on how much you play the game, of course, as well. Because we're both kind of nerds and we kind of play video games a lot.
Yeah. What? I
don't
barely play. What do you mean?
Yeah, no, man, we're good. Yeah, 1 to 2 months. That's a good expectation to set for people. Just get in. Don't be afraid to dive in, sink your teeth in.
Because what I see on stream is people will come in that are newer to the game. They ask me if like, how is it? And then they're like, oh man, I've always been so scared because it's such a big game.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually people expect to get into a game and they get handheld through, and then you're feeling comfortable. You can actually play it. I think Fortnite's the best example. Kids can hop in and play that like in like 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
True.
And like they kind of have a semblance of what's going on.
Yeah.
Tarkov is much different, but it just takes someone that wants to be able to go up that learning curve and kind of dedicate themselves to it. I wouldn't call it the most casual game ever by any means. Like hopping in and then playing once a week and then expecting to actually like make money and make progress. You're not typically going to do that unless you're like a savant.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. If you play it once a week, not counting insurance and all that stuff, it's definitely not.
You should probably have a contract with like Cloud9 or something right now if you do that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely more of the full-time, or not full-time gamer, but like the dedicated gamer. I'm gonna sink my teeth into this game. I'm gonna spend some time because there's so much to learn in this game, and it's so awesome because of that. And we're still learning. 8 months later, 9 months later, we're still learning stuff. And every single time we play.
To kind of temper that though, there's like people where they'll like play games in spurts. And I have a lot of friends and people that I know that play this game in big like spurts. And you can do that. You can dedicate yourself to learn some stuff for a little while, get into the game, and then stop like kind of cold turkey for like a month, and then come back to it. And then you kind of just keep building in chunks instead of just like that continuous stream.
Sure. Yeah, that works just as well. There will be minor changes, but I think there's like a certain threshold. Once you're not necessarily comfortable running every single map, but I would say once you're more comfortable with the general layouts of all the maps, and you can get through them, you know where your extracts are, things like that. I would say that's like the first like tier 1 of the learning curve, and then tier 2 goes into recognizing what maps you enjoy, and then starting to, as we talked about before, like starting to learn the outplay maneuvers, starting to understand the rotations of the map, starting to understand the hot zones of the map. And that's kind of tier 2. And then I feel like we're kind of transitioning to toot our own horns because we're finally getting to that Kappa. We're finally transitioning into the rest of this wipe is going to be really fun for us because it's going to be PvP focused the whole time.
Yeah.
We don't have to focus on questing. We don't have to do anything. We can play exactly how we want to play. And I think that's going to open up our eyes a lot to a lot of different aspects of the game that we didn't necessarily think about before.
Agreed.
But yeah, we could probably talk about Tarkov all night, but I think that's probably a relatively decent place to start winding down and kind of swing it back more and talk about the squad cast a little bit.
Squad cast. Oh yeah.
I might just have to have Ice do the intros. His voice is so much better.
Welcome to the Squadcast.
And there you go. That's it. No, so as we were discussing right before we started recording this, I really liked the idea. This is going to be a podcast about primarily, well, not primarily, but Escape from Tarkov, video games. I guess we could say video games primarily. Yeah. We might bounce around to a couple different games every once in a while, or maybe more often, depends on where things take us, but also, maybe some streamer tips or some IRL stuff. But I'm excited to finally sit down and record a podcast that I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about this. You probably don't know this because I probably haven't told you, but I wanted to start a podcast back in, I was really, really, really big into Fortnite when it first came out, before they removed all of the talent that it took to play the game. Turbo building.
Aim assist.
I wanted to, aim assist, turbo building, like, don't even get me started. I wanted to start a podcast way back then. And even before that, I kind of wanted to start a podcast because I wanted to get into casting Counter-Strike back when I was like playing at a high competitive level. So it feels good to finally be here and to be doing it.
Yeah, I'm excited to start it. I think Squadcast is just kind of entailing mostly games and stuff surrounding playing with friends, playing with a team, multiplayer games. We're not going to talk a lot about like single player games unless there's like some unique off case. But yeah, mostly just times where you get together in a squad with buds and game.
Play some video games.
Yeah.
Well, Ice, where can we find you on the internet?
I am everything Iceman_1H because there's a billion Icemen out there in the world. I had to keep a 1H behind my name. That was an old club in Counter-Strike. Like, it's long story, but Iceman_1H is me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Not yet. Don't have that level yet where I can have that unique tag. But there's YouTube there. If you check out my other channels, the links are all there. So
awesome. I'm going to be pretty much the same. I'm Tyrannosaurus Flex. Good luck spelling it. It will be down in the description down below. Except for on Twitter, I'm Tyrannosaurus FLX. But the rest of the socials are going to be Tyrannosaurus Flex. Yeah, just thanks for being here. And thanks for listening. And thank you, Ice, for being part of this.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to more.
I'm absolutely looking forward to more. And
thank you for listening, you guys.
In the next one.
Later.